Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast. Currently, gold prices are rising continuously. Globally, they have topped a record high of $2,350 per troy ounce. In India, they have crossed rupees 72,000 per 10 grams. Gold has gained on reports of US cutting interest rates, geopolitical tensions, particularly between Israel and Hamas, and a weaker dollar. Besides strong buying by central banks and Chinese interest in the yellow metal as an asset class have aided the bullish trend. In India, the wedding season is set to begin, and Akshaya Tritiya, an auspicious event for gold purchase, is just a month away. How will the situation pan out with regard to gold in India? To throw some light on the likely trend, we have with us Mr. Parag Lagu and Mr. Kunal Lagu, directors at Lagu Bandhu Jewelers. Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, Parag and Mr. Kunal Lagu. Hi, Nehal. Thank you for getting both Mr. Kunal and Parag Lagu.
Pleasure, sir. It's wonderful to be on this podcast on the behalf of Parag and Kunal,
Okay.
and they can continue.
Welcome, Mr. Kunal Lagu and Mr. Parag Lagu. Happy to have you on the show.
Our pleasure, Mr. Subramani, sir. Thank you for having us.
So we'll get going, I think, with the podcast. Right?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Kunal and Mr. Parag Lagu, welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast. As we have seen the last couple of weeks, gold has been having a real golden run, you can say. So in India, it has now touched 72,000 rupees per 10 gram. How far can gold rise further this year? And where do you see the bull run heading?
Yeah, hi. Actually, yeah, I mean, we have seen that in the last few days, the gold prices have been rising a lot. But unfortunately, it is very difficult to predict as to how far this rise can go. Gold rates are dependent on so many factors, domestic as well as internationals, that it is really not in our hands to predict. But the general trend has always been that gold rates have been rising over a period of time.
To add to what Parag said, I think what we jewelers typically see is these levels, once tested, it's very difficult for gold to go back to the old levels. Historically, that has been the case. So, like Parag said, it's not that we can predict where or how far they will go. But I think now looking at those old levels of 4,000, 5,000, 5,500 seems unlikely, even in a long-term scenario.
Fine. So what sort of impact has this rise in gold prices had on buying, particularly in India?
So what we have typically observed is that when gold rates spike in this way, there is a general tendency to slightly hold back in the purchases because people keep feeling that maybe the gold rate will stabilize somewhere or maybe they will come down. The same experience we had just yesterday when it was Gudi Padwa. We saw that people were slightly holding back. But I'm sure that in the future, when the rate of increase will stabilize or maybe it will plateau, people will start buying again.
So how will the response be during the oncoming wedding season? And also Akshaya Tritiya is coming up. That is seen as one of the special occasions where we see a good amount of gold purchase. How do you expect these two events to pan out this year, particularly when gold is cooling about 70,000 rupees per 10 grams?
I would like to take that one. I think continuing with what Parag said, right? Most of the times, whenever there is such a spike, there is a near-term disruption. People hold back. Yesterday we had Gudi Padwa, which is also a big occasion. There definitely was a slight tepidness in the footfalls, but we have always seen that this once this surge happens and it stays at that level, people come back to the stores in India. Because you were talking about Akshaya Tritiya and wedding season, in India, weddings hold a very big cultural significance, and people end up buying jewelry around those occasions. So our expectation is that footfalls and purchases are going to go back to the original levels and probably even go beyond last year. A lot of weddings are planned. It's a longer wedding season this time. So, in fact, Akshadita is a good 1 month away. So, we feel demand will be back to its original level, even despite rather the high gold rates. People will be back buying gold. Even while we are talking about people holding back, there is a segment of people who have been reaching out to us that they want to buy gold at this level. They haven't bought, but they now want to buy. So, it's just a short-term disruption in demand. Also, what we as jewelers then do is try to cater to this rather create smaller pieces, lighter weight pieces, chains also below 10 grams, 5 grams, so that people can continue buying because they want to buy this commodity.
So are people waiting for prices to sort of stabilize or consolidate it at a particular level so that they think that it's worthy to purchase gold?
Yeah, that's what I said. There is a segment of people which we felt, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, who are waiting for the prices to consolidate. But once, like I said, going down to old levels is impossible. So typically people realize that, now it's stabilized. See, stability helps rather than any quick rise or quick fall. In fact, what happens is, let's say they start falling, people feel that, you want to wait a little longer to buy at an even lower level. It's a typical buyer's dilemma. So people like stability. So once this stabilizes, those segment of people will start buying again very soon.
Now, when prices go up, people usually look at recycling of gold. Now, how is recycling taking place, and will this help consumers to take more interest in gold, recycle their gold and go for a new piece, paying? I mean, where the difference of payment will be less.
Yeah, I would like to answer that. See, overall, if you look at a longer period of time, gold rates have always increased. So, and in India, the sentiment has always been to look at gold as an investment. So definitely people who have invested earlier would like to get, higher rates that are there today for two reasons. One is as an investment, they gain in their investment. And secondly, it helps in their budgets of buying newer jewelry, right? So that is one way of looking at it. Even for jewelers, it is easier to recycle gold, especially the older gold that we had, so that we can renew our stocks and give a better design variety to our customers.
So, are you seeing an increasing trend of gold recycling in the last couple of years?
I would say it has not increased as such. It has been steady, more or less. But yeah, I mean, see, because there are people who want to just keep adding to their investment, they will always keep buying. And there are people who have budget constraints who will recycle them. So there is a balance in these two kind of customers. So we feel that it has been steady.
Now, heritage jewelry is seen as a sort of niche product. So, how is it doing despite the price rise? Is there the demand continues, or are you seeing some sort of problem with that also?
Definitely in very heavy, when we talk about heritage jewelry, right? The very heavy pieces, 100 grams above, people will think a little because the price is now 100 grams is about 7,20,000. Even in heritage jewelry, what jewelers are doing is they are trying to make pieces in lighter weights. Technology today allows jewelry to be made in hollow formats. The design aesthetic remains the same, but the weight decreases. So all of this is the trend is towards giving the same designs but trying to make it lighter. The demand for heritage has not gone down. In fact, with the weddings becoming bigger, people want on the wedding day, they want to wear authentic heritage stuff. So that is still there. Yes, people would want to obviously get the gold weights down because there is at the end of the day some budget that is allocated and they want to spend that budget only. So that's the trend. Requirement, the demand for heritage has it gone down? Not at all. Would people like to buy lighter ones in the same? So yes, that is the trend. So we as jewelers we have to work on that and get them those designs.
Now, currently, the Rabi harvest of crops has begun. Now, is that having any sort of impact, or you see the Rabi harvest season playing some sort of role in gold demand?
So it does always, when we go to tier 2s and tier 3s, we do a lot of exhibitions. We are on the road typically from June to August, September, which is typically an off season, relatively off season for jewelry. But that is the time we come to know, based on how the harvest season has been, how the demand is. So recently, I mean, today they have said that the rainfall is going to be normal in this season. So we feel from this season itself, if that is the forecast, people will keep buying gold, because for them, whenever there's excess cash, the easiest place to invest is gold. In tier 2s and 3s, the avenues are lesser, right? I mean, there the exposure or the reach of financial instruments is still lesser. So gold, in fact, holds a very bigger, or rather a bigger, relatively larger place in their hearts in tier 2s and 3s, where this harvest also plays a big role. If if the rainfall is going to be good, they are going to have better savings, and it will become a cycle of investing more in gold as we go along the year.
Thank you very much, Kunal and Parag Lagu, for your very insightful views. I hope listeners also will be benefited from this. Thank you all for coming on this State of Economy podcast.
Thank you, Mr. Subramani, for having us here. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much.
Thank you, Mr. Kunal and Parag Lagu, for your insightful views. We'll be back with another State of the Economy podcast soon. Thank you for tuning in, listeners.